Sure, but when you look at the dominance of the teals around places like Sydney and those key seats that used to be Liberal Party heartland, it should send a bit of a shiver up your spine, shouldn't it? Because to win back a majority, you need to get some of those teal seats back. The other issue that we were talking about at the last election about the coalition is that the women problem. Scott Morrison certainly did have a woman problem. Is that still an issue as this next federal election rolls around?
Well, no, we don't have Scott Morrison hanging around our neck this time. We have Peter Dutton, who has proved himself to show that he has a strength of leadership that not even the Prime Minister has, and Australians are warming to that in their hour of need when they're doing it tough. They're looking for someone that is strong, that can lead them out of the problems the country's facing. But I think it is important also to remember that obviously the cost of living crisis wasn't there 2.5 years ago when many people voted on ideology of a political party born by a born billionaire that has an ideology that can afford a cost of living crisis and has these teal members running around with ideology. But the practical reality is that Australians are hurting and that his policies won't help. So I think what people also need to understand is it will be catastrophic for this country. That if we don't get a majority coalition government, because what we will have at the moment is a minority Labor, Green, Teal coalition. And when you look at the voting record of the Teal members in federal parliament, they're voting over 70% of the time with the Greens. So people who think that these are just cute, cuddly little teals from the cities just understand what's coming if the Australian people don't give a clear direction on how to on their government at the next election. And I fear that's what we could end up with. But I think there is a changing mood out there. They're understanding the Teals ideology, while we all aspire to, practically achieving is a different thing.
Do you really think voters think the Teals are cute and cuddly?
Well, that's the perception they've been able to portray, that they're there with dripping with self-righteous sanctimony, telling us how we should all live, predicated on the ideology of a born billionaire that is pumping millions into this political party that doesn't face up to the reality and doesn't face up to what he's doing to regional Australia. He's relegating regional Australia's future to that of one that's littered with transmission lines, solar panels and wind turbines, tearing up your own food security and pushing up your food prices. Now, he can afford it. He's a born billionaire. He's got no problems being able to go to the supermarket twice a week. Well, I suspect he doesn't go to the supermarket, but he can afford to put food on his table. The rest of the country can't. And I think this is where these teals come to this place, and they've been able to portray themselves, and they took advantage of what happened in the last election cycle with Scott Morrison, all to their credit. But there's a practical reality here in Australia at the moment, and what Australia needs is strong leadership and certainty. They don't need a Labor, Greens, Teal coalition government governing them for the next 3 years. If you think it's tough now, wait till that mob get hold of us for another 3 years.
What about what's happening in Queensland at the moment? You want to talk about unsavoury ideology, or the politics of ideology. What's with One Nation and Katter's Australia Party trying to inject the abortion issue into Queensland politics? It's straight out of the worst of the US playbook, isn't it?
Well, it's political opportunism, I think, but the reality is in Queensland, and being a Queenslander, what really is driving people in Queensland is firstly their cost of living, but for us, it's the juvenile crime that's out of control up there. No one feels safe. And I think that is what's driving people in terms of their determination of what they're going to do on Saturday. And I think I'd be surprised if the LNP don't win. But what's important for the LNP is if they get a mandate in Queensland where you've got a unicameral parliamentary system, you only got one house, they need to get on with the job. They just can't sit back, and everything they've promised they need to deliver. David Crucifulli, if he gets a mandate, should not hold back, because I can tell you Queenslanders are fair, but they can become very impatient. And if you promise something and don't deliver it, then you're in trouble.
Yep.